Pineville, a quiet town in Maine, hides a dark secret, a cursed forest known as Shadow Hollow. Locals warn of ghostly figures, eerie laughter, and those who enter never quite returning the same. When Clara, a skeptical photography student, ventures into its depths, her lens captures more than the forest's beauty. What she finds lurking in the shadows will haunt her forever. Pineville, a small, unassuming town in Maine, is a place where everyone knows each other. It's the kind of town with one diner, a handful of stores, and a single main road. But what Pineville is most known for is its woods, a sprawling, dense forest that locals avoid once the sun sets. They call it Shadow Hollow. For years, Shadow Hollow has been the subject of whispers and warnings. Stories of disappearances, ghostly figures, and unexplainable sounds have become local folklore. But to Clara, a 22-year-old college student visiting her parents for the fall break, these tales were nothing more than superstitions. Clara had grown up in Pineville, but had always dismissed the stories as small-town gossip. Now studying photography in Boston, she decided to spend her free time capturing the natural beauty of her hometown. When she heard her old friends reminiscing about the creepy woods one evening, Clara saw an opportunity. "I'm going to explore Shadow Hollow," she announced, her voice filled with confidence. Her friends exchanged uneasy glances. "Don't," one of them warned. "People don't come back the same after going in there." Clara laughed. "Come on, it's just trees, I'll be fine." The next evening, armed with her trusty DSLR camera, a flashlight, and a sense of adventure, Clara walked into the forest. The sun was just beginning to set, casting long shadows through the towering trees. At first, everything seemed normal. Birds chirped, leaves rustled in the wind, and the soft golden light filtered through the canopy. Clara clicked picture after picture, marveling at the beauty of the untouched wilderness. As she ventured deeper, she began to notice peculiar things. The trees seemed to grow closer together, their gnarled branches almost forming a canopy overhead. The path she had been following became narrower, twisting in strange ways. She came across a small clearing where an old rusty swing hung from a massive oak tree. It creaked softly as it swayed, though there was no breeze. Clara snapped a photo, intrigued by the eerie scene. But when she checked her camera, the screen flickered and the image appeared distorted. Lines of static ran across the frame, and a shadowy figure seemed to loom in the background. Her stomach churned. It must be a glitch, she thought, but the unease lingered. As darkness fell, the atmosphere in the woods changed. The lively sounds of birds and insects vanished, replaced by an oppressive silence. Clara's flashlight beam danced across the trees, but the shadows seemed to move with it, shifting unnaturally. Then she heard it, a faint, childlike laughter echoing in the distance. She froze, her heart pounding. "Hello?" she called, her voice shaky. No response. The laughter came again, this time closer. It sounded distorted, as if it were coming from an old broken speaker. Clara's instinct screamed at her to leave, but curiosity got the better of her. As she moved toward the sound, her flashlight flickered. She stumbled upon a small, broken doll lying in the dirt. Its face was cracked, and its button eyes seemed to stare right through her. Next to it were small footprints, barefoot, like a child's, but they led nowhere. Panic began to set in. Clara turned to head back, but the path had vanished. The trees now seemed impossibly close, their twisted branches reaching for her. The laughter stopped abruptly, replaced by a low, guttural growl. She spun around, and there it was, a figure standing several feet away. It was impossibly tall, its limbs unnaturally long. Its face, if it had one, was shrouded in shadow, but two glowing red eyes pierced through the darkness. Clara couldn't move, her legs rooted to the ground. The figure didn't step closer, but its shadow began to stretch toward her, twisting and writhing like a living thing. Desperate, Clara pointed her flashlight at it. but the beam did nothing to penetrate the darkness. The growling grew louder, reverberating in her chest. Summoning all her strength, she turned and ran. Branches tore at her clothes as she sprinted through the forest, her flashlight barely illuminating the way. The laughter returned, louder and more menacing, as if multiple voices were mocking her. She tripped over a root and fell hard, scraping her hands and knees. As she scrambled to her feet, she saw the shadow creeping toward her again. It moved faster now, stretching across the ground like ink spilling over paper. Clara screamed and bolted, not stopping until she saw the faint glow of her family's cabin in the distance. She burst through the door, slamming it behind her. Her parents rushed to her side, alarmed by her disheveled appearance. She tried to explain what had happened, but her words tumbled out incoherently. Finally, she handed her camera to her father. When they reviewed the photos, every